Lesson 4 in A Course in Miracles. These thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place. Unlike the preceding ones, these exercises do not begin with the idea for the day. In these practice periods, begin with noting the thoughts that are crossing your mind for about a minute, then applying the idea to them. If you are already aware of unhappy thoughts, use them as the subject for the idea. Do not, however, select only the thoughts you think are bad. You will find if you train yourself to look at your thoughts, that they represent such a mixture that, in a sense, none of them can be called good or bad. This is why they do not mean anything. In selecting subjects for the application of today's idea, the usual specificity is required. Do not be afraid to use good thoughts as well as bad. None of them are your real thoughts, which are being covered up by them. Footnote: our real thoughts are the thoughts we think in unison with the mind of God, while our current thoughts are small, fleeting, and often anxious and conflict-ridden. Our real thoughts are boundless, changeless, characterized by perfect peace, and at one with all that is. These thoughts can be experienced in deep meditation. See Lesson 45. While they are of heaven, not of this world, they are what will show us the real world. The good ones, of which you are aware, are but shadows of what lies beyond, and shadows make sight difficult. The bad ones are blocks to sight, and make seeing impossible. You do not want either. This is a major exercise, and will be repeated from time to time in somewhat different form. The aim here is to train you in the first steps towards the goal of separating the meaningless from the meaningful. It is a first attempt in the long-range purpose of learning to see the meaningless as outside you and the meaningful within. It is also the beginning of training your mind to recognize what is the same and what is different. In using your thoughts for application of the idea for today, identify each thought by the central figure or events it contains. For example, this thought about blank does not mean anything. It is like the things I see in this room, on this street, and so on. You can also use the idea for a particular thought, which you recognize as harmful. This practice is useful, but is not a substitute for the more random procedures to be followed for the exercises. Do not, however, examine your mind for more than a minute or so. You are too inexperienced as yet to avoid a tendency to become pointlessly preoccupied. Further, since these exercises are the first of their kind, you may find the suspension of judgment in connection with thoughts particularly difficult. Do not repeat these exercises more than 3 or 4 times during the day. We will return to them later. Let us now practice for a minute or so together. This thought about does not mean anything. It is like the things I see in this room. This thought about my partner does not mean anything. It is like the things I see in this room, on this street, in this place. Our real thoughts are the thoughts we think in unison with the mind of God, while our current thoughts are small, fleeting, and often anxious and conflict-ridden. Our real thoughts are boundless, changeless, characterized by perfect peace, and at one with all that is. These thoughts can be experienced in deep meditation, see Lesson 45. While they are of heaven, not of this world, they are what will show us the real world. Set the intention for today, any unhappy thoughts, remembering to say to yourself, these thoughts do not mean anything. Set the intention for the day. Whenever you notice unhappy thoughts or thoughts that bring anxiety or discomfort, say to yourself, these thoughts do not mean anything. Spend a moment now setting this intention. These thoughts do not mean anything.